Hi, I'm Ray Camden. I am a developer advocate for Adobe. I work on a team that has APIs related to documents. So if you need to do stuff with PDFs, like OCR them or combine them or split them or extract them and Office documents and stuff like that, we basically have all sorts of APIs that relate to documents. I'm not talking about any of that today, but I definitely have blogged about doing PDF stuff with the Jamstack. We also have a really nice free client-based PDF viewer where if you want to put a PDF on your website, but have your web UI around it, as opposed to where the browser takes the whole screen. We have a little free viewer for that. And I've talked about using Eleventy with that. Today, what I am talking about, and just move that off screen, is something I blogged about way long ago, March 8th. And it was a simple thing where I use Medium for work, like our team's work blog is on Medium. And I wanted to ensure that the content that I wrote there showed up on my website, not in like my main blog role per se, but I have a page, and I'll actually show it, where I talk about, where I write off my blog, and it mainly like for nobody else but me, really, because I forget what I do. But I wanted to include Medium as well. So when I found out that they had an RSS feed, I thought, I bet Eleventy could absolutely suck that in and I could put it on my screen. So I blogged about it. And when I was asked to speak at this meetup, I was worried that it was going to be too short. But what's nice is that I blogged about the solution that worked for my blog, which was simple, make it work, get it done, quick, accept. And then the more I thought about it, the more I thought, oh, I could add this and I could add that cowbell and I could make it do blah, blah, blah. So what I'm going to do is essentially kind of show you a couple of examples of this. By the way, everything I'm showing today is up on a repo under CF Jedi Master /Eleventy-demos. I tend to put all of my stuff up there. And this one is in a folder called use_RSS. I was feeling very creative that day when I named that folder, but it's all within one repository and basically just kind of builds and builds and builds. So what I initially wanted to do was parse some RSS. And I Googled and found one that I've actually used many times in the past, but I forgot. A nice little library called RSS Parser. It's relatively simple. You could see on the sample right there. And for the most part, it's just plain, but I'm going to show you a couple of examples of where it didn't just work. I am a huge fan of a utility called Run.js. This is an application that runs on every platform, Mac, Windows, etc. But it allows you to write ad hoc JavaScript and play. And so I whipped up a quick example where I got the library and I hit my feed. And you could essentially see, it takes the pain out of parsing XML and it gives you a nice, simple result set to work with. I will make this a little bit bigger. So you see you get a title, link, the date, content, as well as a content snippet where they will actually take a long form blog post and give you like the first paragraph or so. And they also strip out the HTML. They give you the ID, they give you the link, the date, etc. This just worked fine. But what I will say is that when I used the Medium URL, it did act a little bit different. Copy and paste that in. And I'm not really sure why, but it would not return a content key. Instead, it returned the content : encoded. And it didn't return the snippet. I checked their docs. I never saw any reason as to why they would possibly do something different. As far as I know, Medium is using a valid RSS link as well, but it's just kind of something to keep in mind. And actually, in a second or so, I'm going to show you some code I wrote to handle where that shows up and kind of how to work around it. So starting off simple, and let me just make sure. Yep. So the first thing I did was go into my data folder and I made a file called medium.js. And basically, it's the exact same code that you saw in the Run.js example. I wasn't going to do anything to the results to make it a bit nicer for Eleventy. I was totally fine. All I really needed for my example was the title and the link. So I ended up just using that like so. I just loop over the link and the set of results. And that's it. And I'm actually running this right here, and I will make this a little bit bigger. And that just worked. So this is what I did on the blog post. It was quick and dirty and simple enough, but I definitely wanted to make it look a little bit nicer. I knew that one of the first things I could do was actually add a date, so I could kind of show when this was being submitted. A person by the name of Dylan Pierce, he's on the Pipe Dream team. He was talking about something totally unrelated, but he showed a library called date_fns, which I heard of, but never got around to using. And what I did was brought this in here. Now I'll make this even bigger. Over there, shrink that a little bit. It's a library with a bunch of different functions. One of them that's really nice is it can take an ISO formatted date and turn it into something a bit more English readable. As we all know, working with dates is super easy. We shouldn't need any functions for it, but I'm really, really happy that libraries like this exist because it makes it a little bit easier. I talked about how the fact that my particular Medium feed did not have a content field. So one of the things I did was just write a quick bit of logic where if content wasn't returned, and content encoded was returned, I just copy that over. My thinking is that if I switch the RSS feed and it goes away, it's no longer a problem. I didn't want to always overwrite that content if the library worked fine. So all I did at first was add dates. Let me go back here and I put this in index 2. And you can see I added published, and I have an HTML bug there that I will definitely fix one day soon. But all I did here was add that nice date value in there to make it a bit nicer. And that's why I have that bug. And that bugs me, so let me make sure it goes away. And I'm not going to live fix stuff while we're on screen here. Oh, okay, it worked. Cool. By the way, totally unrelated Eleventy type tip. If you're doing anything in your data folder and it takes a little bit of time, don't forget that Eleventy by default will output how long it takes to run those files, which is really handy. So for example, you could see a file called multi that I'm going to show in a few seconds. Is taking the vast majority of my build time. That's why I didn't get that kind of instantaneous ability to see those updates real quick because it took 30 seconds to run. And you'll actually see that in a little bit and understand why it's a bit slow. But just FYI, if you're the kind of person who runs a command line program and just ignores it to go work on other stuff, there's some really useful output that you could find in there. So that was the first example I did. My use case really was just getting a set of links, and I wanted to link to the real article. But I could absolutely see a use case where you actually want to take the content from the RSS feed and have it on your website. Now, there's absolutely copyright issues involved with that. You want to make sure that it's okay with the person who has the RSS feed, and some places are totally fine with that. But if you want to do that, then you can make use of Eleventy's super easy pagina feature. And this, I love to say, this is the feature in Eleventy that made me love it, but I say that like 10 times. But this is really the feature that made me fall in love with Eleventy, because pagination was really hard and like pretty much every other engine that I tried to work with. But all I've done here is basically say that I want to loop over that set of RSS item. I want to save it into a folder called syndicated-articles. And I include the content there. And remember, I'll go back to it. I had that little bit of logic there where if content's missing, but content encoded is there, copy that over. So this is how I did the pagination, and I have a simple index page in front of that where I can link to it. And if I go too fast, just let me know. I could definitely show more code again. And same bug there, and I will fix it. I don't know how in the heck I did that. I'm gonna blame my cat who loves to bite me while I'm typing. But you can see here I have the links. If I click and go into it, it's the full information from the Medium article. It'd be nicer if I had like a site layout so this wasn't, so huge. But if you do actually want to use that remote content in your site, you can. And it's just like regular content now. Let me just reload. Yeah, I fixed that bug. Cool. All right, so the last example I wanted to show, and it's something that I'm thinking about for a future blog post. In the past, I have run blog aggregators for different communities. For a long time, I did a lot of work in the Cold Fusion community. And so I used Cold Fusion to build a Cold Fusion blog aggregator where we had like 300 different blogs, and I'd read the RSS and show a nice little feed of that. So I'm kind of thinking about how to do that with Eleventy. And the first step of that would be to take multiple feeds and essentially create one from them. So all I did was get a set of URLs, in this case, me and two of my best friends. So I have 3 different feeds. And remember, I was talking about how something was taking a long time. This is it. But I loop over every feed in my array of feeds. I get the items from that. I abstracted out my normalization a bit. And also what I did is I want to keep track of what article comes from what particular blog. RSS parser will return the metadata about the blog. So I actually add this to every feed item. It's a bit overkill for every item to have the same blog metadata, but it shouldn't be that big of a deal. So I just went with it. And what I did is I created one big giant array of all the items from all the blogs. And then when I'm done, I sorted them by date. And what this gives me then, go back to my front end, doing the multi, I have essentially a blog aggregator. So you could see stuff from Raymond, from Scott, from my buddy Todd as well. And yeah, again, if I had spent more than 2 seconds on this, I could make this look a little bit nicer, but it all just kind of blends in together as a aggregation of different feeds. And that's actually all I got. I'm definitely open for questions.